Spoiler alert for Silent Hill 2 and Stranger Things Season 4 before we get into the actual video essay. Alright, I really wanted to talk about Silent Hill 2, the remake from 2024 today. I have a very complicated relationship with the game. I am more than certain that I'm glad that I played it, but the way the game modernizes is odd in some respects, but there is one main way that the modernization, or even just say the remake of the game, really stands out to me. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that briefly, as I have a real love for the first two Silent Hill games. Nothing against Silent Hill 3, I just haven't fully played the game yet. I do like Cheryl slash Heather Mason in Dead by Daylight, though. She's a chiller. The Silent Hill 2 remake is more than worthy of its overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, but oddly, when I play a game as at its caliber, usually I am immediately wanting to replay the game, such as my experience with the Resident Evil 4 remake. As soon as I finished, I immediately replayed on hardcore, and then after that I replayed on professional, and then I did almost all of the achievements in that game for the different playthroughs. But Silent Hill 2, the remake, I had no intention to replay. No incentive of the new endings, especially the ones new to just this version, or like the new Game Plus weapons. None of them drove me back to the game. I think the reason I felt this way was honestly just the length of the game. According to howlongtobeat.com, the game is about 16 hours on a regular playthrough. For me, I think it took around 13. But using, once again, howlongtobeat.com, in comparison to the original from 2001, the playtime on that is 8 hours usually. I think it took me around 5 my first playthrough. It's double the length that they're stretching the same story through. It's a bit obscene to me, if I'm being completely honest. I was genuinely so tired from my first playthrough. Many of the other world sections just feel so drawn out. I remember vividly the hospital, just wanting it to be over so I could move on to what comes after the hospital. I think go to the bowling alley, I believe. That could be wrong. I might be losing my marbles a little bit, but it still stands. Combined with this long runtime is the new combat system. For anybody who doesn't know, they added a dodge to Silent Hill 2. It was definitely a decision they made, but like, okay, let me refrain. I don't think it's inherently bad or anything, as its somewhat mushy feeling does imitate the original game's combat quite well, and the lack of precision really makes the player scared to fight, and I think that is critical in a survival horror game. But now that we have a dodge, you can just kind of iframe through attacks rather than shakily trying to avoid the attacks of a lying figure or, say, a bobbleheaded nurse. Bobbleheaded? Bobbleheaded. Whatever. I'm losing my marbles. I should check my notes first. But at a certain point, you start to learn every move of the enemies, and since it's just a dodge needed to avoid the move, it starts almost feeling like Dark Souls. Like, it feels like I'm playing the first Dark Souls a little bit, and that's not inherently a bad thing, but it's odd. It's a survival horror game, not an action RPG like the Souls franchise. Playing 15 hours of a survival horror game and learning the dodge timings of every enemy, it's not what Silent Hill 2 is to me. And this is my personal experience, so please take this argument with a grain of salt. To reiterate on my thoughts about the physical feeling of playing, the original game forces you to move to get out of the way, which is somehow more engaging than this dodge mechanic, because there's a lack of quickness with physically having to move out of the way. Every movement is more deliberate. Every thought has to be thought out. The lack of engagement is engaging. More is less. Show, don't tell. That last one doesn't really work, but I think I've made my point decently clear, hopefully. Let me know in the comments. I'm sorry. Just to reiterate my point, the 16-hour playtime combined with James suddenly becoming somewhat ninja-like leaves you getting way too familiar with the world of Silent Hill. And when you get familiar with the world that's supposed to scare you, you kind of reason things out in your head. Maybe not lore wise, but you kind of make plans and strategies to deal with every type of scenario. And after 15 hours, there's not many more scenarios that they can throw at you. You stop being scared because you've experienced something very similar to the current environment you're in before. You have all the tools at this point, and the game stops being scary. This was somewhat present in the original when you got, like, say, the rifle and the shotgun, but it's worse here. In my opinion, it's definitively worse. Other things I want to complain about. This game released it did release broken, but oh my lord, do I hate games on Unreal 5, and like half of every game right now is on Unreal 5, and sure, it looks good, but it won't run on fucking anything. Sorry for my language, my professor's going to be reading and reacting to this, but I'm sorry. It's so annoying. I can now, after the fact, when recording gameplay for this, I can now finally run the game, but that's only because I have a nicer computer where all my parts came out after the game released. The fact that that's like the bare minimum to play the game properly at like any resolution over 1080p, it's a bit absurd. I can't lie. Fake AI frames are not real frames. But I digress. I will now go on to talk about some positive aspects of the game in relation to its storytelling and a specific Easter egg that was added to the remake and how absurdly well it was implemented. Before writing out my script for this, I didn't realize how impressive it was. So let me quickly just talk about the thematic device of the game, and then we'll get into the Easter egg. Said device is repression of traumatic events, which I find inherently and infinitely interesting. A culturally relevant example of traumatic repressed memories would be Eleven in Stranger Things. I only may be mentioning her as an example because the final season's coming out, but shh, that's between me and you, my so dear viewer. Anyways, quick little rundown. Basically, Eleven loses her awesome psychokinetic powers and can only regain them by being put in a sleep deprivation tank that also can like make her relive memories, kind of like a AR mission for Metal Gear Solid, the series. I was gonna say two, but the whole damn series. It's weird. It's kind of awful to look at because Eleven's got some weird janky CGI to make her younger, but it is fairly effective and allows them to recon a lot of stuff. But in the example of Silent Hill 2, there's no retconning. It's just hiding the guilt and the trauma and the remorse of probably one of the densest men in video game history, our beloved James Sutherland. The idea that this town knows and feasts on repression or trauma to actively make a living hellscape for the individual trapped in the town, be it Eddie, be it James, be it Angela. It's such a strong and terrifying thematic device that leads to some awfully suffocating gameplay and environments. And the reason I'm not really going into too much analytical depth about James and his actions and treatment of his wife is because I really don't feel like I am confident enough or capable enough as a analyzer, as a video essayist, to really talk about the depth and nuance of Silent Hill 2. So what I'm going to talk about is the remake and its opening scene really quickly. After getting that iconic cutscene where James is looking at himself in the mirror thinking, oh my god, I'm so pretty. Also, I think my wife's here, but she's been dead for years, but I also, like, low-key got a letter, so, like, hey, where's she at? You end up passing your car on the way into town from the rest stop. But if you look into the car, which is something you can only really do in this version of the game, due to the remake ditching the fixed camera angles of the original, you can see into the back seat of James's car. Somewhat of an odd thing to do, especially if this is your first time playing. However, this rewards players of the original or people on a replay to notice that Mary's dead, lifeless body is in the back of James' car the whole time. The answer to the game is right in front of you. There is no rug pull. There is no plot. There is no Queen of England. Just the reality of what James has done and what he's been doing. Acting out of a fugue state of repression and deep, deep-seated guilt. Okay, back to my main point about the Easter egg. If this little tidbit was thrown in to the original PS2 game, that you could see the wife that you're looking for in the first playable area of the game, you can see what James did. It would be cool. It'd be a little gotcha moment, very reminiscent of like Far Cry 4, where if you stay for the 10 minutes, you get to spread your mom's ashes and the game ends early. But it would have ruined so many people's first experience with this story. And the legacy of this game is so everlasting. And if this Easter egg was present in the original game, with no doubt in my mind, online publications, personal blogs, magazines would have shared this fact to the masses. And the video game scene at this time was very rumory, very almost a little bit underground still. It was a weird time. I've heard, I wasn't born 2001. My sister was. I was a little bit later, but from what I understand of the time, it was very rumory. And I think this would have ruined so many people's experience with the game, and it would have tarnished a lot of the reputation the game has now. But you may be asking, as a dear viewer, but how does this work in the Silent Hill 2 remake? It's ruining the story for some people, at least. Which, okay, yeah, that is a fair point. But this is one of the most influential games of all time. If you're a person who takes playing video games somewhat seriously in any aspect, especially horror games, you know of Silent Hill 2. You've seeked it out via playthrough or emulation or now this game, and you would have known about it before this remake. You would have known. And if you hadn't, you would have actively been seeking to avoid all the online discourse to really truly experience the game blind. And these true newbies would definitely overlook what's in the back of James Sutherland's car. There's too much going on. The beautiful but problematically performance-wise Unreal 5 engine would distract them with all the high fidelity of everything, the beautiful, beautiful fog. It would distract them. They wouldn't notice it. So it's left for only the hardcore players or the fans. And I really think that an Easter egg like this is only really possible in a remake, and it's really wonderful, and it really sticks out to me as probably the main thing I'll remember after I'm done writing this video essay and I think back on the remake. It's an in-universe poke and also a fourth wall break that is, I just don't understand how you think to do that. And I don't even think they intended it to be so multi-layered, but in spite of that, it still is. I can't. It's ridiculous. It really is. It's outstanding. But to be honest, this is really the only few things I kind of feel capable on talking about because they're mostly just opinion. So that's really all my main points that I wanted to say in this essay. The rest of the game is obviously fantastic. I didn't have really anything else to add, but just I kind of wanted to do this dichotomy of things that bug me about this remake, but also one major thing that is only possible because it was remade. So that's really that. The rest of the game is remarkable, as I said. Blooper Team did a great job. I don't know why they didn't remake the first Silent Hill first, but that's on the way. That'll be really exciting. Yeah. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to listen, watch, review this. Thank you for the extension from my lovely teacher. Yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Hope you tell somebody you love them today. Okay. Bye-bye.